for statecollege.com. I'm Laura Nichols, here with psychology professor in the College of Liberal Arts, Keith Nelson. Professor, your statement today, can you give us a little background on what brought you to present that to the Faculty Senate?
Well, it seemed in August, soon after the sanctions were put out by NCAA, that hardly anybody was speaking up from the university. And so I asked that we get on the agenda for the August meeting a discussion of these, and I prepared a statement which ended up being a motion for today. And basically the motion says the culture at Penn State is documented to be a very positive culture. Good GPA by athletes, very few ineligibilities, no scandals at all about really athletic programs at Penn State over 20, 25 years. And so to see that the Free Report and then the NCAA gave blanket condemnations of the Penn State culture and its lack of values and its lack of concern with academic integrity rather than athletic, money and prestige and those kinds of things. So it just was absolutely untrue, as perceived by many of us, and so I wanted to speak up for many of us who believe that. And that's on principle that we should speak up when something is untrue, regardless of whether it leads to a sudden remedy of the situation or not. We should speak up, and so that people do not believe it, and particularly when we have media that then echoes what the NCAA says and echoes what the Free Report says about the Penn State culture, then it just gets worse, right? So there's a lot of unfair treatment of student athletes, students who aren't athletes, their families, their teachers, the staff, the administration itself, the business people in the community are all unfairly slandered by false statements. And the NCAA did not bother to do any independent investigation. So they don't back up their statements at all. One day after the Free Report came out, then Mark Emmert, president of NCAA, called Erickson and began discussion of sanctions. There hadn't been that discussion before, as far as we know. So this is a very sudden set of actions in an irregular way by the NCAA immediately after the Free Report comes out. Most of us could not read it, given the schedule of other things we had to do, within 24 hours, right? There's a lot in the Free Report. But these particular statements about the culture are false, picked up by the NCAA, not verified, and they used a procedure that totally bypassed the usual sanctioning committee, the way of investigating things, the way of having an independent set of investigators, and then judgment by a specially qualified committee on sanctions. They bypassed all that, turned over in kind of a sloppy procedure that's not even well spelled out yet. Somehow they let Mark Emmert enter into those discussions, and 10 days later, 10 days after the discussion started, the sanctions were given. This had never happened in this incredibly irregular and fast kind of time frame before. And certainly not on the basis of a couple of statements about the culture at an institution. This is just unprecedented, it's out of bounds, it's an unfair, condemnation of hundreds of thousands of graduates of Penn State, their families, their instructors, administrators. It's just unfair. And so people should be speaking out. Maybe isn't so important whether an exact majority or 47% or whatever it was in one vote today. The exact percentage of people who voted today, I think, is not the main issue. The main issue is, are there many people who are concerned and willing to take a stand? And that's clearly absolutely true. There are a lot of people. And there are a lot of people I hear from other universities, from alumni. There are a lot of people who directly communicated their concerns and the lack of the university standing up strongly for its reputation.
Now, is there a next step for you? This failed to pass today, but is this going to stop you in any way? Or are you going to continue to pursue what you believe should happen with the free report and the sanctions?
Well, I think many people said today, there are ongoing processes. There are definitely ongoing processes by the administration and the Board of Trustees trying to come to terms with what happened and to improve things at Penn State. We just want to be sure that people understand that the heart of the Penn State culture is very strong. It's very well documented of how well we've handled women and men in student athlete competitions, recruitment, and so forth. And so that needs to stand out. Our concern with academic excellence generally, all the things that we do well. And so I think it's just a matter of course for the Senate and the Board of Trustees and the administration and the alumni to continue discussing, what's happened. It's not a challenge to moving forward, as many people have said, to look carefully at what happened and are there things that we need to speak out about now, keep speaking out. I think many people believe that. People who believe otherwise and think that we should just kind of lay down and not say much more, that's a different strategy. So we believe at a university in people being able to air all their various opinions, and hopefully over time the best ideas and the best strategies will be integrated and come to the fore, whether they come from the Senate or from an alumnus or wherever they come from. So I think this is just part of the process. And again, is the glass half full or half empty in terms of the vote today? Two things happened. One, we seriously considered these issues and discussed them, right? We could have decided not even to discuss them. And secondly, a significant number of people voted in favor, about a third for the first motion and almost half, very close to half, for the second motion. But it isn't the exact head count. It's that a lot of people are concerned and will continue to be concerned, and we'll try to work with the administration, Board of Trustees, independent people outside Penn State who are concerned with athletics in general and higher education in general. There are a lot of people outside Penn State who think we've been treated unfairly and are joining us in speaking up in various ways. So it's a continuing process for sure.
Professor, how has your background in psychology affected the way that you are approaching this situation?
I really don't see it intimately connected. I only see it connected in the sense, let's say, of doing research with children, where part of what we do is try to understand how kids learn. How does their mind work? How could you help your own daughter or a student that you were teaching in elementary school? What's the process that facilitates kids doing well? All those kinds of things are research questions, they're scientific, they're academic questions in part. But they become ethical questions when you have enough knowledge that you can help people, but you need to find resources to actually see things implemented. They become ethical issues when you see that kids in poverty, where we know what should be done, are not getting what they need. So I guess, the one strand that I can see that connects them is that there are points at which what you know really does have ethical implications for action. Right? And exactly which actions you should take and how do you get support for them, that's complicated. But if you see that the implications are there, then I think it's important to speak out and try to make things happen.
Have any of your students come forward with questions about the free report or the sanctions and brought them to you?
Well, yeah, not in a formal way, but yes, in informal communication, absolutely. Oh, yeah.
Is it something that you felt they've been able to get a better understanding with after talking to you, even if it's in an informal manner, maybe after class?
Oh, absolutely, and we have discussed, some of this in my classes as well. And I think that I think that not only many students, but also many members of the faculty have often felt a little intimidated about speaking up, as if you spoke up about these kinds of statements that are false, and you speak up in a way that's defending the actual good record of the university, does that mean that you don't care about child abuse, that you don't care about doing everything that you can to contribute to better efforts to prevent child abuse, to help victims of child abuse, and so forth? So I think that it's unfortunate, but I think in a way the climate and the media have kind of made it a confusing time where people have felt, maybe it would be, unloyal to Penn State to speak up, even if you clearly see that, hey, I had nothing to do with this, athletes I know had nothing to do with it, so why should we be condemned in a public statement and then deal with sanctions that are based upon false statements? So it's kind of, the social complexity of when do you feel comfortable in actually speaking your mind. And so I think it's helped some students to feel better about that we've, actually directly confronted it in class. They don't have to agree with me, right? Of course, but just getting it out in the open and feeling that it's okay to talk about it is important.
And now to wrap up, in the Faculty Senate meeting, there was a lot of mention of the phrase "move forward." What would you like to see for Penn State to moving forward?
Well, I would like to see many of the things that President Erickson talked about already, things that definitely improve, the training of people around child abuse, reporting of child abuse, everything around that. There's going to be a big conference for 2 days, October 29th and 30th, a national conference. Anything in those directions, I think we definitely should keep doing them totally independently of anything that the NCAA might be trying to require of us. We should just do it because it's appropriate. But I think we should also improve governance. I think we should make sure that more often the faculty senate, student organizations are in good communication with the higher administration and with the board of trustees, so that before major decisions are made about the way the free report would be set up, about interpreting the free report, about negotiating with the NCAA, that in any big decisions like that there would be more involvement of all the parties. I think it'll lead to better decisions and everybody feeling better about, however things work out. I think that actual shared participation would make a huge difference.
You're very passionate, and I have to ask, what makes you proud of Penn State?
Gee, where to start? We get great students, and I think we have a great relation to the community. We have a lot of faculty who care about teaching and care about research excellence and the advancements of knowledge and the translation of knowledge into application that helps people. Just across the board.
Professor, thank you so much for joining me today. Appreciate your insight.
Sure, thank you.
For statecollege.com, I'm Laura Nichols.